Yes, you hear the music in the background. It's unique. It's a theme song that the XFL decided to play in one of their commercials last week that just not rejuvenated the fans, but made people realize, oh shit, the XFL is here. This is a different way to start off a podcast, but hey, sometimes you gotta change things up. The Super Bowl has passed. Congratulations, Chiefs. We kind of figured that you guys were going to win anyways. But now, we're here. Week 1 of the XFL season is finally here. But anyways, I can't do anything at this podcast without my partner in crime, Carlos, the Wrestle Movie Guy.
Hey, what's up? I appreciate the intro there, James.
Oh yeah, I forgot to introduce myself, but everyone knows who I am. I'm the smartass. I am Jay Dash, the host of the Unhinged podcast.
And I am the one and only part man, part machine, all podcaster.
Oh yeah, that's what you are mostly are. You're just a sidekick usually, sometimes. But anyway.
Hey, at least I got a place at the table.
Oh yeah, true. That's very true. But you're not the one that gets the heat like I do on our social media accounts and our Discord. But I think we got some couple plugs that we got to drop before we get this show on the road, don't you think?
Plugs? Who? Oh, right. That's right. 503 Sports, as always, we want to give them a nice big thank you for always being great to us, hooking us up with some gear. And if you want some nice, beautiful, authentic, old school XFL gear from 2001, you want to walk down nostalgia lane, check out 503 Sports. And if you want to get 10% off your purchase, make sure to type in Unhinged at the checkout line. And of course, to our good buddies, our football family, XFL Newsroom, thank you as always for giving us a place at the table. And thank you to the XFL for hooking us up with those tickets to give out. And thank you to everybody that joined in on that contest. And James, I'll pass it back to you, man.
Well, usually on some of our podcasts, we like to jump into stories and rants and point out, the insignificant individuals behind keyboards that we like to call keyboard warriors.
Hooah!
But today is different. Today is a new day, a new season.
It's a new day. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. You said that. I had to throw that in there. I am the wrestling movie guy. Come on now.
Good point. Touche, my friend. Touche. But in the dawning of a new day, pun intended.
I was really about to jump in. I was like, no, don't do it.
I just didn't want to see if you were going to do it that time. Teams, organizations, family, whoever you've been around with. A new day means you have a new goal. You have opportunity. You have a chance to become something that you weren't the day before. Like this podcast. 2 years ago, me and my buddy Carlos started this podcast. And honestly, the first couple of episodes were trash.
Rough.
Really bad, honestly. I've actually gone back to listen to some of them. I'm like, Jesus Christ. They are god awful.
What the hell were we thinking?
But
oh, right, we
2 years ago, if I asked myself, or would have asked you, if we asked our past selves launching this podcast, what would we have done something different? And I kept thinking, what should we do something different? Or how should we approach it differently? And the first thing that popped in my mind is have fun, do it on your own, and not seek any help from other podcasts that are going to use you for their popularity gain, and yet they get all the praise and glory. But this is not about them anymore. You know who they are, and they do great products. I have nothing against them. But over the last 2 years, we have slowly grew. This past week, we surpassed 2,500 downloads on all of our podcasts over the last 2 years. And for us, we're thankful for our listeners who are continuing to listen to us rant, continuing to listen to us to talk about random sports stuff. We appreciate it. But what does this mean going forward? Well, it's been 2 years in the making to get to this point, and we're finally here. We are at the kickoff of the XFL season. We have joined a great cast of individuals. Tron Hawkins of This Is the XFL Rooms Newsroom. You'll see him tonight later on our podcast.
Well, hear him.
Not see him. Yes, correct. The XFL Delivery Guy, which he has a new segment. He will be joining us, or you'll hear him as well tonight. And also the ref who operates XFLnewsroom.com and the other podcasts that are launching over the next couple of days. And honestly, over the last year when we joined forces with the newsroom, I am really appreciative to the cast, especially the ref. Haven't met the guy. I've talked to him many of times, and we've grew this website, and then we grew our network to what it is today. His shows are averaging about 550 listeners. We're averaging now about 300 listeners on our shows, on our YouTube pages, and I can't thank all of them. I just can't thank them because the journey is now beginning. We're finally here. Without them and without us, our podcast would be nothing. So I want to say thank you to our listeners. Thank you to the people who message us on Discord. Thank you to the keyboard trolls that keep trolling us for mishandling some information. But I want to say thank you to XFL Newsroom, the ref, Tron Hawkins, the XFL Delivery Guy, and the crew of the network. We're finally here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time to get this thing going because week 1 is finally here, and before you know it, we'll be talking about who's going to be winning the championship in a few weeks. So with that, I say this. Buckle up. The Unhinged podcast may not be unhinged today because we have no idea what we need to get unhinged about until maybe next week when we see some bad penalties, bad plays, what happens during regular football games.
Bad behavior.
Yes, true. And with that, we got to pay tribute to the people who pay the bills here in Anchor. And then we let a special delivery from the XFL Delivery Man next here on the Extreme Football League's Unhinged podcast. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, guys? It's the XFL Delivery Guy, and it's finally here, week 1, and I'm delivering my picks. It is the AAF Delivery Guy, and I'm delivering my picks to you. It's time. Excuse me. What do you think you're doing? What do you mean? I'm delivering my AAF picks. Oh, this is awkward. Oh, that's not a thing anymore. I mean, like, you've been let go. What do you mean, let go? Finished, out of funding. Well, you never even had funding. Sorry. I don't understand. Vince, can you help me out? It's a bit intense, Vince, but thanks. So, yeah, you're fired. Fired? Yeah, man, it's okay. It's fired! Oh. Fired! Oh my god! Oh shit! Fired! You wanna fire me? Huh? I'm coming back, baby! Like a phoenix rising from the ashes! You can't do this to me! This isn't fair! It's not fair! Sorry, I just had to blow off some steam. Guess I'm fired. And I guess these belong to you now. Thank you. Alright, guess this is it. Hopefully I'll be back one day. Okay, bye. Where was I? Oh yeah, it's week 1, and I'm the XFL Delivery Guy, and I'm delivering my picks to you. First up, I have DC over Seattle. I have the LA Wildcats beating my Houston Roughnecks. Sorry guys. I have the New York Guardians beating those Vipers, and the game of the week, Dallas versus St. Louis, and I have Dallas coming out on top. There it is, week 1 XFL. Let's get it.
Well, it seems like the XFL Delivery Guy put the final nail into the AAF. Bid farewell, Old Spring League. But hey, the new spring league is here, and let's start talking about games. And what I mean about talking about games, I mean we're talking about football games here, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally, and the show will go on. The fireworks will go off, and two teams will be fielded on Audi Field this Saturday at 2 p.m. on ABC when the Seattle Dragons travel to take on the Washington Defenders. The weather's going to be nice there from what I could tell. High 40s, clear skies, maybe some wind, but the nasty weather will not go through DC until late Sunday. But it'll be affecting, that New York game on Sunday. But we're finally here. First off, Carlos, what is your expectations just on the anticipation of the first ever or second ever inaugural season of the XFL?
I am expecting energy. That's probably the key word right there. They've really been pumping this up around here. I'm hearing it on the radio. I'm seeing it on TV. I'm on my YouTube. I'm getting commercials for the DC Defenders. They're supposed to be giving out like 10,000 like foam shields or something. Basically, it's going to be very gimmicky and in a good way. Don't take it the wrong way when I say that, but essentially they're trying to get people excited to get in. They want people to show up early. They really want a real traditional kind of experience, Like I think that everybody's going to be pretty hyped for it. And as long as the game is good and they really grab people by the collar and say, look at this game, look how different it is, look how fast it is, I think it absolutely is going to take off here. Unfortunately, the only thing that I'm concerned about is that at the end of the day, you only get one chance at a first impression. And DC, I love DC, but we can be very fickle, Even when earlier this year, when the Nats were struggling, yeah, we won a World Series, but if you look at the attendance record midway through the year, it really didn't look like it. We love winners out here, and we don't really have time for losers most of the time. Like the Redskins' attendance, all-time low. The Wizards, really horrible attendance. We've lost 56% of viewership on television. And again, like I said, the Nats were struggling in attendance until they just, took off, started winning, and whoop, here come the fans. They all came right back. So I think the Defenders really need to grab people's attention. The game itself, the rules and everything, hopefully it all pans out because this is kind of an experiment. We don't know if all these rules are going to work out the way that everybody thinks, if it's going to really speed up the game. But hey, hopefully it does. And I really, really, really am so excited. Like, it feels like Christmas. It feels like I'm looking under the tree and there's a box and I can't open it yet. I get a feeling of what's in there, but I'm not really quite sure. And then on the Christmas morning, I'm going to know for myself. And it's either really going to be really disappointing or it's going to be really exciting. So I'm just expecting pure energy. That is the word of the day when it comes to what I think the experience is going to be like at the stadium.
Well, sounds like you're all prepared for it. Seeing that you will be there live for the action at 2 p.m. It's going to be very nice weather there, bro. So
I'm going to be rocking my Tommy Maddox jersey, and my girl's going to be rocking the Casey Weldon jersey. So if you are going to be down there, feel free to DM me, hit me up at Wrestling Movie Guy, at Wrestling Movie G on Twitter. Just hit me up. And hey, if you want to talk, have a beer, everybody want to get together, come on down, join me before the game starts.
Yes. So let's get to the game itself. A lot of people want to know what should we expect from both teams. These two teams both played in preseason down in Houston. I'm not going to go over what happened down in Houston. It's preseason.
Planet Houston.
Like preseason doesn't mean anything really because I remember a Indianapolis Colts team going 0-4 one year, then end up winning the Super Bowl. And I remember a team going 4-0 in the preseason to never win a game in the regular season. Lions.
Ouch.
Yes. But how do you look at a game that has no history before it? There's no history of the Dragons in 2018 or 2019. There's no history of the Defenders. How can you tell what these two teams are? You got to look at the coaches. Jim Zorn, Pep Hamilton, and look at what type of offenses they've ran at their previous destinations. Pep Hamilton's always ran a pro-style offense with a zone read concept. Jim Zorn, is more of a mobile quarterback, quick
Trick
slant
play.
routes, trick
He
plays,
loves his trick plays.
a lot of tight end play. That's what Jim Zorn's offenses are about, and of course, kind of hopefully the P fans in DC can get their eager to get payback on Jim Zorn maybe for what he did for the Redskins.
To be fair, Snyder set him up for failure, but he called some of the worst calls I've ever seen, including that weird ass like fake punt thing that I remember SB Nation did a video on. It was called the worst NFL trick play. Go check it out, people. It's amazing. It was so bad I'd forgotten how bad it was. But yeah, I think that could be detrimental to the Seattle Dragons right off the bat. I think that they may not realize what they have there in the way of too many trick plays, trying to be too cute. Like you got to have a balance of it, And I am a little concerned the Dragons are going to learn that firsthand, unless they really have these trick plays down. If it's all about execution at the end of the day.
Well, execution is key, but usually you don't want to go to the bag of tricks because when you're a team that's going to do trick plays, you're pretty much telling the opposing team you're facing, hey, we can't beat you straight up. We got to do all this fancy stuff to try to, make your defense, bite on the slant route or leave a wide receiver open deep on the deep post. But when you look at the Dragons themselves and the defenders, if you listen to our prediction show last week, or earlier this week that dropped, you've noticed that my MVP and Carlos's MVP are playing in this game. Carlos said his preseason MVP was Rashad Ross, who is a wide receiver for the DC Defenders. He's also the former leading receiver for the AAF with the Arizona Hotshots, and my MVP is Brandon Silvers of the quarterback for the Seattle Dragons. I know it's kind of a long shot, but when he did play for the Memphis Express in the AAF, he was actually pretty good, and he did lead the Memphis Express to big upsets over the Apollos and over, I want to say, the Hotshots. I may be wrong about the Hotshots. No, it was the Apollos and Atlanta, I think. I was one of those teams. But when he played in what I'm trying to get at, ladies and gentlemen, was when he played in those games, he was very consistent. He was making smart plays, and he threw for 800 yards for only playing 2 games.
65 completion percentage. Not bad there.
No. But what is Seattle? If you're looking at Seattle's offense, what can scare you when you look at Seattle offense? Well, they have a running back called Trey Williams. This guy is a speed demon. I watched him at Texas A&M. He played for the San Antonio Commanders last year in the AAF. One thing about Trey Williams, he's not like your normal style running back. He's the type of running back where if he gets to outside edge of that left tackle or right tackle and the tight end, and he has that crease in that block, he's the type of guy who you can miss one guy and he's gone. I'm surprised he's not in the NFL. Maybe he's a little undersized than the quarterback or running backs in his type of style. But he's very explosive. He's a type of player that can take it to the house. Also, the one thing about the Seattle Dragons that you need to keep an eye on is wide receiver Keenan Reynolds. He is a all 8,000 yard, all-purpose yards player at Navy when he was in college. He finished 5th in the Heisman voting back in 2015. That tells you a lot about Keenan Reynolds. He is a very athletic player. He's already did his time in the military. Now he's coming into professional football. So I think Brandon Silvers will try and find him and Williams to, jump the offense. Now, if the Seattle offense is struggling, you have B.J. Daniels, who's a very mobile, strong-arm quarterback from South Florida. People say, what has he done? Well, he's a journeyman in the NFL, but he's more known as a quarterback who defeated Florida State University and Notre Dame in college. This is when Florida State was starting to decline in the Bowden years, but they were still highly ranked, and Notre Dame was still a top 10 team. So B.J. Daniels has experience winning big games on the road. So mixture of the quarterbacks, as you can tell through a lot of these XFL teams as we break down some of these games throughout the day, is that you see two decent quarterbacks. They may not be two great quarterbacks because if they're great quarterbacks, they won't be in the XFL. But you have Brandon Silver, B.J. Daniels, very similar styles. They're both mobile and they both have good arm strength. But one thing that is key for Seattle to go into DC and to beat DC, two individuals you need to hear a lot of their names. That is Will Sutton. You should know him. He's the former defensive tackle for the Bears out of Arizona State. He also played for the Hotshots last year, and he's a one technique type of defensive tackle who disrupts offensive lines. He can make some plays. And also the other defensive tackle, Jaquez Smith. He's a former Buccaneer. He had 13.5 sacks with the Buccaneers when he played in the NFL. If you hear those two guys' names a lot against the defenders, that means Cardale Jones and Pep Hamilton's RPO style offense, meaning honestly, meaning that Jarrell Pursley and Donnell Pumphrey are not having big games because an RPO offense, if you stop the interior running game of the RPO offense, you're slowing down an offense. So you look at the receivers that the DC has, Eli Rogers and Rashard Ross. If those guys are not getting their slant routes and those quick passes from this RPO style offense, that means the two big men for the Seattle Dragons on defense, Will Sutton and Jaquez Smith, are doing exactly what they need to do. So when you look at this game, the line is 6.5 DC. In DC is going to be a beautiful day to start the season. An RPO style type of offense by Pep Hamilton, led by Cardale Jones, who a lot of people in the XFL media have already said he is currently the front runner to be the MVP. Well, you kind of expect that when his face is being thrown on every single poster in DC and on the national media, and especially their hype trailer earlier in the week for the season. But like I said with the Dragons, with B.J. Daniels and Brandon Silvers, DC has their other quarterback tandem of Tyree Jackson. He's a 7,000-yard passer out of the University of Buffalo. This man is a beast. He has a strong arm. He's tall. Now, I don't know how he got in the NFL. They said that his mechanics are need a little bit of working, but he has the size to be a type of NFL quarterback. He's 6'4", and he has a strong arm. So when you look at the inaugural game, I just gave you 2 points of how Seattle can stop DC. Thing is vice versa. DC has a very they have, I think, maybe one of the best safeties in the league, in Matt Elam out of the University of Florida, and a defensive tackle, Elijah Qualls, 6th-round pick from Philadelphia. It's going to be interesting because we don't know. We don't know these two teams yet because we haven't seen them play, or seen them actually play in real games on preseason. But if you watch college football, if you watch any type of football right now, a lot of teams that run RPO offenses means they read option the running back and they look at a defensive end. That quarterback is usually hoping, if I hand it off to that running back, he's running down the middle of the field or into the 2 gap or the A gap or the B gap. And if Will Sutton and Jaquez Smith are, clogging up that holes and slowing that RPO offense down, it's going to make Seattle stay in this game. Does Seattle have enough weapons to keep up with DC? No, they do not. That's why Vegas thinks DC is 6.5-point favorites. It's going to come down to the interior linemen and all RPO offenses. That's how you stop them, is your big men on the defensive line. And this game could very well come into the trenches.
Damn, dude. You kind of broke that down better than I definitely could. I'll keep my opinion simple. I think that the DC defenders have two-headed monsters. Eli Rogers, Rashard Ross. I think they're going to slice and dice up that defense. And then on the running game, this is almost a perfect setup for the defenders. You got Jarrell Pursley, the former AAF leading rusher, and you got Donnell Pumphrey, the NCAA all-time leading rusher. Damn, what a way to come out of the gate. And the only way you're going to stop them is stopping them at the line or keeping them inside, because you can imagine that if they go to the outside, they're going to open things up and really, really burn the Seattle Dragon defense. But, man, you just broke down pretty much everything, so I think we're pretty much set to move on to the next game.
No, we're not set because we didn't make our predictions of this game.
Well, why are you asking me? You already know who I think's going to win.
Well, Mr.
Yeah.
Dylon, I need to know who you're picking for this game.
DC Defenders. That's
DC
obvious.
Defenders.
The fans are probably like, God, James, come on, man. You know who he's rooting for. You know who he thinks going to win.
Uh, I think
Yes.
how this I think the game is going to, like how I just said, it's going to be sluggish at the beginning. I think, Sutton and the defensive line for Seattle is going to contain the RPO offense easily, but I just don't see Seattle having enough offensive firepower to keep up with DC in DC on the kickoff. I like DC to win. I see them pulling away. I see them covering the 6.5. I say they win by 2 scores. So let's go to game number 2, where we go down to where the ref. Yes, the ref of the XFL newsroom, his team, his, sanctuary, his battlegrounds, where the Houston Roughnecks, who are 3.5-point favorites over the Los Angeles Wildcats, will be on Fox at 5 p.m. right after the Seattle Dragons and the Washington Defenders game. And what's the weather going to be like down there, ladies and gentlemen? Early projections of the wind is that it's going to be 75 degrees and sunny. These two teams did play each other in preseason. LA did beat them 23-18, but then again, we're not going to talk about the preseason because the preseason doesn't mean anything. So, when we look at this game, what are these two type of offenses? Well, first off, if you know June Jones's offense is in Houston, you have what they like to call a air raid or a run and gun spread. June Jones is a coach that is going to spread his teams out, and he's going to throw the ball nonstop. They do have a decent running back in Andre Williams, but I have a feeling that players like familiar players you should know, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of this season, you will know Sammy Coates. You will know Sam Mobley. You will know Kawhi Lewis of Houston, because these guys will have some of the highest receiving yards in the league. That's why you look at June Jones's offense, especially in Canada and now here, he has mobile quarterbacks who have strong arms. They have that one with Philip Walker. Or they have a pocket quarterback that makes smart decisions and doesn't force his team into 3rd and longs or 4th and longs. They have Connor Cook, who is a 9,000-yard passer from Michigan State. So when you look at Houston in this game, yes, the preseason game they did lose to the LA Wildcats. You really can't judge preseason, like I've said before. But what does make Houston a threat in the Western Conference is that wide receiver core. In my honest opinion, I think they have the best wide receiver core in the XFL. They may not have the best quarterback, but they do, in my opinion, have the best duo quarterback.
They're definitely capable. They're absolutely capable.
Yeah, 1A, 1B. They can do Connor Cook can start or PJ Walker can start. These guys have history in college of winning championships, and they have, unfortunately, do have some NFL experience, but in bad ways. Connor Cook, unfortunately, didn't do too well in Oakland. Then again, who does do anything well in Oakland?
The man got paid, so there is that.
Yeah, true. So when you think of the wide receivers of the Houston Roughnecks, you want to know what's so big about them. Well, you have Sammy Coates. He's a former Auburn Tiger, 5 years experience in the NFL. Yes, he didn't have a lot of receiving yards in the NFL, but he was a dynamic wide receiver in Auburn for the Auburn Tigers. Sam Mobley is a small college kid. He has 1,700 all-purpose yards in college. If you watch his film, he is a diamond in the rough. I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Mobley will be playing in the NFL next year. He's that type of player. Once he gets a film against competition that's a little higher than he's used to playing, he's going to excel. And people are going to be like, man, who's that kid? And he's going to get an NFL. Watch for him at Sam Mobley. Kawhi Lewis, 23 all-purpose yards for the University of Cincinnati. He is another guy that I'm surprised didn't stay on NFL roster. I think he will be an individual that you'll see in this Houston offense excel because you're going to have players on the Houston offense are going to just run like deep routes, slant routes, comeback routes. And Sammy Coates, Sam Mobley, and Lewis are going to be receivers that you got to keep your eye on. And of course, they got a couple other guys on the team, but these three guys really stand out. I think these are going to be the key players for the Houston Roughnecks. To when you see them, maybe in Week 8 or Week 9, you're like, man, who's that team that's going to win the division in the West or the last playoff spot in the West? It's going to come down to receiving cores, because I believe in the XFL, this is going to be a more offensive league than the NFL or any other sports league that's a football league that's not in the arena. There's going to be a lot of offensive firepower, and I think teams that usually score more points. I'm going to do my Booger McFarland impression here, ladies and gentlemen.
Booger McFarland.
The teams that score more points usually win the game.
You sure that's not Madden?
No,
boom, and the points here and the points there. Yeah, points everywhere.
That's Booger McFarland said that on ESPN Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. I think like Week 7.
Yeah, no, it was god awful. It was just terrible.
And they basically told him to get off the TV.
He still works for them though.
Yes, but as an individual who's watched a lot of football, and I guarantee a lot of you out there who are listening to this show have watched a lot of football in your lifetime, and you realize that a lot of teams that have air raids, West Coast style offense, running gun, that majority throw the football, are usually teams that won't win championships, because one thing that stops them is that, yes, they can throw the ball left and right like crazy. They can give bang, 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 but when it comes time, the crunch times, especially if their defense is not doing, equaling what the offense is doing, they don't have a running game. But I think Houston does have a running game, and it's Andre Williams.
I was about to bring him up. Took the wind out of my sail, finished 4th in Heisman Trophy voting in 2013. Question, though, is he too old at this point? Because running backs don't have the longest shelf life in this sport. That's why they don't get paid anywhere near as much as they used to. And you got to wonder, are the wheels about to fall off on this guy? Will he be able to keep up in a much faster game? That is something that does concern me about running backs in this league, because if it is a faster game, it's going to be a lot more wear and tear, a lot faster. Like we're going from 4th gear into 6th gear pretty damn fast. So any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. The lifespan of a run back it's not long at all. We see that throughout the history of the NFL, where honestly here in Jacksonville, Maurice Jones-Drew, when he came out of college, he had 6 years that he was just, elite. Then all of a sudden it just went downhill quick.
Same for Terrell Davis. I mean,
exactly.
2-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP after 6 years, done.
Yeah, not everyone's Frank Gore. Not everyone's Adrian Peterson. I can't believe those guys are still going at it, and they've been in the league for 14 years. That's amazing. That longevity is very rare for running backs, especially like Fred Taylor. That's another court running back that he's a 25,000-yard rusher in the NFL. He played about maybe 13 years, but half that time he's been on the injured reserve list. That just tells you how, like you said, is his shelf life running out. He's 2013, he got out of college. That's been 7 years since 2013. So he might have a couple of seasons left in him. And then again, the type of running back he is, he's a bruiser back. He is a guy who is going to line up right behind center and run the ball down the middle of the field. He's not going to try to, juke you on the corner or the outside, and he's not going to run stretch plays.
Well, that's what concerns me. Most of those guys are the ones that run out quickly, like Eddie George or Corey Dillon. Most of those guys didn't last as long, and they were bruisers. Very few guys are like Jerome Bettis that could just keep on going. Yes.
But for the individuals out there who are listening to our podcast, thank you. A running back that Andre Williams reminds me of, and I know this is going throwback. I mean, this may be for the people who are in their 40s or late 30s may know this guy's name. He's a former San Diego Charger. Yes, that's when the Chargers played in San Diego, folks. They did play in San Diego.
They did?
They did. A running back called Natron Means.
Ooh.
That's bringing it back, ladies and gentlemen. He is Andre Williams. Perfect type of comparison between the two running backs. Big, not fast. They just get the extra yards, and when they break some tackles, they can run off a 30 or 40-yard run. But the Houston offense, it's going to be running gun. If you want to compare them to an offense in the NFL, they look like the Kansas City Chiefs offense. But Kansas City Chiefs offense is far superior than the Roughnecks offense. I'm not comparing them that way by talent. I'm just comparing them by the styles they'll both play.
The blueprint.
Yes, because Philip Walker and Connor Cook will not hold Patrick Mahomes' jock. Just saying. Just put it down on the table, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not comparing apples to apples here. I'm just saying, just telling you that the offenses are comparable, just so you know what you're looking at when you see the games on Saturday. But who are they playing? They're playing the Los Angeles Wildcats. Yes, the LA team. We remember the past one in 2001. Apparently, the original XFL trophy from 2001 is at the facility of the Los Angeles Wildcats, and I've heard rumors that in week 2 they will bring that trophy out on the field for some presentation.
Oh, hell yeah. They better have Tommy there.
To pay tribute to the original team. And I know this is causing stirs in the XFL community, but they're just paying tribute. They're not going back to the old XFL. Just saying, you can drop it. It's like the millions of people that were complaining about the war chant for the Kansas City Chiefs last night, which was ridiculous. Come on, it's a football game. Let's move on. But
they've been doing that chant for like 50 years.
Exactly.
So what's the big problem?
Exactly. So, who are the Los Angeles Wildcats? Well, the Los Angeles Wildcats honestly have more fan support than the Los Angeles Chargers. That's not,
that's not a high bar.
That's not a high bar, but that's just saying. Comparisons there. So who do the Los Angeles Wildcats have that you need to focus on? Well, focus doesn't stop to just the quarterback.
Yeah,
Josh Johnson.
I could tell you about him. I've actually seen him play because y'all may or may not remember at the end of not this past season, but the year before, Josh Johnson played for the Redskins. He had to step in after the ungodly amount of injuries that we had. Alex Smith went down with that broken leg, and then we brought in Mark Butt Fumble Sanchez, and he really didn't pan out. Shocker there. And Josh Johnson came in, and I was pretty psyched. I was like, all right, Josh Johnson. We stole one from the AAF, from the San Diego squad, if I remember correct. And I got to say, he was a lot of fun to watch. His numbers may not look that great when he was in Washington, but he was able to move the ball on his feet when needed to. Unfortunately, our O-line was just so bad that it was 10 times worse when he would run around. Not that it was his fault, but if he had any semblance of a decent, healthy O-line last year, he would have actually played a lot better. But the man can continue to keep plays alive. He's got a pretty good arm. I wouldn't say he's Kurt Warner or anything with how far he can throw it, but he can throw it. He can chuck it. He's a smart guy, and he appreciates having the opportunities that he has after that win that he had for Washington. I believe it was the one win that we had towards the one win out of his 4 starts. He got down and kind of teared up because he'd been in and out of the league for about nearly 10 years, and he never had a win. And to see that emotion on him, to get that first victory in the NFL, maybe possibly his only, but time will tell. The fact that it mattered that much to him told me that this guy's a good egg, and I think the Los Angeles made a really good pickup with Josh Johnson.
Well, seeing that you have, fan experience from Josh Johnson, and we've also talked about him going to be in at that time just the Washington franchise. We didn't know they were called the Defenders back then, but
that was the big rumor. Everybody thought he was going to be there.
Yeah, so, but who else is on this team? If you want to understand, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to name every single individual players of the Los Angeles Wildcats. I'm just going to say this. LA is going to have a hell of a defense. I like their defensive squad so much that I think they may have the dark horse best defensive end in the league in Sean Oakman, who is if everyone knows who he is, he's a big-time defensive end from Baylor. Unfortunately, got into legal trouble that he wasn't falsely accused of, won a court case about being falsely accused. Couldn't get a chance in any other football league. The NFL wouldn't even touch him because of it. decided to come to the XFL, got cut in early training camp for some personal issues. I've heard rumors about being misconduct or not being on time for a meeting. Got cut, then got re-signed a couple of days before the final cuts, and he made the team. One thing I want to say about the LA team: LA is going to have a very aggressive defense, and one thing I know, if they win games, which I think they're going to be a contender, like I've said in the last podcast, I think the Western Conference is going to be the better conference out of the two divisions, and I think the champion comes out of the East. But the defense of LA, what type of defense they're going to run? Well, if you look at their roster, it looks like they're going to do a base 4-3 defense because they have few linebackers on the roster. But for you have defensive ends, Sean Oakman on one side, he's going to just pressure the quarterback, and that's what's going to happen with teams that you face. But playing a team like Houston, that type of offense, I think Houston's going to get the ball out quick, and it's going to be very hard to get to the quarterback, whoever is back there, Connor Cook or P.J. Walker. So what does L.A. have on offense? Well, one name I want you guys to look out for is Kerbert Whitfield. He's a former Florida State wide receiver, better known for the kickoff return of the 2013 national championship game against the Auburn Tigers. I watched him for 4 years at Florida State. This guy can run very good deep routes and slant routes. He's not a great route runner, but he's the type of receiver where you throw him open, he'll catch it, and he's gone. He has the speed to get, at least he has the speed to break a couple in the games. And if Josh Johnson could get the ball in the money at certain times during the game, he might, score a couple of touchdowns. And also, the fifth leading receiver in the AAF last year, he played for the San Diego Fleet, Nelson Spruce, very solid wide receiver. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been watching a lot of AAF games on YouTube. No, not because it's just missing the AAF. I was actually film study, honestly, to see what's going on and watch Nelson Spruce. He's a guy that, honestly, in my opinion, should be on an NFL roster right now. The guy runs good routes. He has good hands, and he makes solid decisions. I think the only reason why he may not be in the NFL, he may not be considered fast enough to play in the league, but he has the measurables. He's a good, solid receiver. And if he's fifth and leading receiver in the AAF last year, that tells you that he's a very reliable receiver. Also, in the backfield, I think LA has maybe one of the most dark horse running backs in the league in Elijah Hood, University of North Carolina. I had the chance to watch him a couple of years up in North Carolina as you know, Florida State fan. We've played them a couple times, and of course, I've watched a lot of college football. Elijah Hood is a mid-range type of running back, mid-range size, speed demon. He can hit the corners. He can run up the middle. He is going to be a solid running back. He might actually lead the league in rushing. And if you want to say who does he compare you to, who do you think you could compare him to, James? What type of court running back is he? I think he's like what I just mentioned a couple of segments ago, Maurice Jones-Drew type. He's not as built as Maurice Jones-Drew, but he's that type of size of running back where he can get under blocks and he can move, get through tackles and, dart off a 30 or 40-yard run while even knowing. For the Wildcat fans out there, I know there's podcasts out there that cover the Wildcats. They do better breakdowns than us. This game right here, in my honest opinion, is going to be, even though the preseason score says 23-18, I think this game right here is going to be a barn burner because I do believe that LA has enough weapons. They have a defense that can slow down Houston. What I mean about barn burner, I'm not talking about it's going to be, a running gun. We're going to have a high-scoring game. I think it's barn burn, meaning it's going to be a, dear God, it is the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left in the game, and the score is 17-19. And what's going on? Why is Houston not, going up and down the field? It's because LA's defense is going to keep them in the game. I do think LA's defense keeps it in the game just enough for an LA player to make a crucial mistake at the end of the game. And with Houston having the 3.5-point favorites, I got to side with the Houston Roughnecks in this one. I think Houston Roughnecks don't cover, but I see them winning in a very close game to cap off the first night of the XFL. What about you, sir?
Oh man, I thought that whole narrative right there was on point until the very end when they're just going to do just enough to keep surviving. The Wildcats are going to go down the field for one person, do not make a mistake, but make the play of the game. And I think it's going to be Nick Novak. How many opportunities are we going to get to give kickers love on this breakdown before the season starts? Nick Novak, another former Redskin. I've seen this guy under pressure not buckle and win games at the last second. That guy, I think, is probably going to come down to a field goal, and they're just barely going to cover, and Nick Novak is going to be the hero. There's going to be a big celebration. Oh, my God, he made the kick. Yeah. Although I will say his only drawback is that he doesn't have the biggest leg in the world. I think that his max was about 52, 53 yards, which, man, it's pretty damn hard kicking a field goal. I can't even get one to go 20 yards. But he does not have the strongest leg when it comes to kicking, but he's got an accurate leg. And I think that he's probably going to be the unsung hero, and he's going to win the game at the end of the day. I think LA is going to pull out with the W.
Yeah, we finally got something different. Maybe that's how the season is. So, the first day is set. The sun sets. It's over. But when the sun rises on Sunday, I mean, it's another day of XFL football. The question is this. Is there a quarterback controversy in New York after the trade of Luis Perez to the Guardians? And also, why are people overlooking the Tampa Bay Vipers, especially in the XFL media? We chatted with Tron Hawkins earlier today of This Is the XFL podcast about these lingering questions. Coming up next on the XFL Unhinged podcast. Welcome, Tron, to the Unhinged podcast. And first off, I just want to say this. Just say this first off. It's finally here, man. It's finally here. We're actually talking about games now.
Yeah, no more speculation. Just it's time to talk about football.
Yes. And I know a lot of people in the XFL or the new followers that we're getting after the Super Bowl have no idea the two questions I just brought up.
Right. Yeah.
Is there a quarterback controversy in Tampa or in New York? And why are the Vipers being overlooked by many XFL podcasters out there?
Well, first off, with the Guardians, I wouldn't say there is a controversy. I think when they traded for Luis Perez, I think it's just one of those things where they're just trying to get an insurance policy. In the practice game, the preseason game, Matt McGloin actually threw for 3 touchdowns in the first half, but he also threw 2 picks. So we don't know which one is the good Matt McGloin and which is the 3 touchdowns what we're going to get most of the time, was 2 interceptions we're going to get most of the time. Where Luis Perez kind of is a game manager, even with the Iron, they played 8 games. I think he only had 8 touchdowns and 3 picks. So he's more of a game manager. He's not a gunslinger, kind of like Matt McGloin. Looks like he's going to be based on the preseason game.
Well, when Luis Perez was traded to the New York Guardians by the LA Wildcats, the first thing that popped up in my mind when I was thinking is like, wow, a signed quarterback got traded to New York.
Right.
The first thing that got in my mind is that either A, Gilbride wasn't 100% sold on Matt McGloin as a QB, or the backup Williams. Usually when you trade for a quarterback like Luis Perez, yes, he may have not thrown as many touchdown passes in there, but he was technically, by statistics, the second best quarterback in the AAF last year. He has shown that he can win not big-time games, but decent games. But this is also a fail-safe, like you mentioned, that Matt McGloin, may not be how I heard this from another podcast, which is I got to give credit where credit's due. I think it's either from the News Hub, even though our competitors, they said that Matt McGloin is a spitting image of Garrett Gilbert of the Orlando Apollos last year. He's going to be that type of style quarterback, strong arm. He's going to be that pocket quarterback and is going to make plays. And Luis Perez is going to be that insurance policy. The reason why I mentioned that question, because I'm not the one who brought it up. I saw it from message board or Discord, which you can find at xflnewsroom.com, is that Luis Perez was considered one of the best quarterbacks being assigned when the quarterbacks were assigned by the XFL a couple of months ago. And now he is in New York, I just think that either A, the quarterback controversy there is it's not really a quarterback controversy. It's more of either the team doesn't trust McGloin staying healthy all year, or is Luis Perez the only reason he got traded in New York? It's because LA had Josh Johnson in the fold, and they need to just get rid of a quarterback. And plus, from what the ref said on the last, this week in the XFL, which you can find on XFLNewsroom.com, he said that the XFL teams are trying to find two decent quarterbacks to run their systems. And I believe Luis Perez and McGloin could be good competitors or a good 1-2 punch for a quarterback combo. But it just seems kind of odd that Luis Perez was an assigned quarterback. He is technically maybe one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and now you got two of them in New York. That just, raises, the question, is there an actual underlying quarterback controversy that has yet to be leaked out to the fans?
Well, the thing about Luis Perez is he was a signed quarterback, but so was Josh Johnson. So either way it goes, somebody was going to get somebody who was made a good bit of money was going to sit on the bench. Is how I look at it. Either way, so it's kind of the same situation here with Luis Perez. When Josh Johnson got assigned to LA, it made me wonder if that's who they wanted the whole time. They just couldn't secure him, and so they're like, okay, we'll just settle on Luis Perez. That's kind of what it seemed like at the time. It didn't seem like with the other ones, like Litt and them when they got assigned. But in LA, everybody's like, it's Josh Johnson. Nobody really stood up on the Luis Perez. To me, the reason why I don't think it's controversy at all is because Matt McGloin at least has some NFL experience. It might not be good NFL experience, but hell, he got thrown into a playoff game as a third string on a week's notice, and he went out there and made it somewhat competitive for at least a quarter or two. So he knows what it's like to play at bigger games. He played at Penn State compared to Texas A&M Commerce. Mm-hmm. I don't even think this is like a top 3 quarterback controversy. I think Houston is a bigger one. I actually thought St. Louis was going to be one, but that was pretty clear cut now. But I don't see a controversy here. I think just based on name alone, it might be because who Luis Perez is and what people remember him for. But to be fair for the people that like Luis Perez, the way that Guardians defense is built is kind of like how they hired with Iron, where whoever's going to be quarterback might not have to do much. But with the weapons around them, you have Mikael McKay out of Cincinnati, who I think is going to be a stud. You got Joe Horn there, Duke Austin from Charlotte. You got the running backs out of the backfield like Tim Cook and Justin Stockton. I think Matt McGloin is better suited for them to chunk it downfield. I think he's got a better arm than Luis Perez does. So just based on what's around them, I think Matt McGloin's the clear-cut starter. And honestly, I think he's a dark horse MVP candidate too.
Well, that's talking about MVP candidate. That's a very if you listen to the last Unhinged podcast that dropped last week, I made a bold statement that Brandon Silvers would be the MVP, and the reason why I said that, I think he is personally stepping away from this Guardians and the Vipers here. I think he is technically the best quarterback in the league. Is only just being overshadowed because Seattle may not have the the weapons around him. But I can see a quarterback like Matt McGloin, like Brandon Silvers, throw up some incredible numbers in a 10-week season and won't win the MVP because their team may not win 7 games or make the playoffs. They may, win 4 or 5 and miss out, even though they have numbers that, give them the opportunity to be the XFL MVP for the first year. But let's move away from the controversy, or is there one? But let's go back to it for a quick second. I do know for the New York Guardian fans out there, no matter who's under center, based on how your offense is built, if McGloin does go down with an injury, you're still good with Luis Perez. He did show when he played at Birmingham, he knew how to keep that team in games, and he made some plays in certain games. They clinched a postseason berth, even though there wasn't no postseason in the AAF. He does have experience in tough games at this style level of football in professional sports. So you guys are in good hands. I'm just trying to clear up a question that we saw on Discord and on Twitter about, is there a quarterback controversy in New York?
on the year-end review that we did with XFL Newsroom, I picked St. Louis to be in the Eastern Final. But after seeing some highlights and stuff from the preseason, I actually think New York's going to play Washington in the Eastern Final now, the more I think about it.
That's nothing bad. You got that Northeast rivalry between the two cities, so that'd be good for
the Guardians go 7-3, make championship game. Matt McGloin. The West got the better teams, but whoever comes out of the East, who's the best quarterback in the East, might end up being MVP.
Yeah,
Murray, one of them.
And like I said in my last podcast, I think the West is the best division, but the champion comes out of the East, and the champion's either going to be New York or DC. I just have a feeling that's going to happen.
They're just going to beat up on each other the whole season because they got to play each other twice.
Yeah, correct. But let's move on to another subject. We do have another podcast here on the network called the Ready to Strike Viper Nation podcast. He actually brought up a point to me about how the Vipers are being overlooked by other XFL podcasters, including myself and Tron. We don't have them high in our rankings. And honestly, to say for you, sir, I guarantee you're going to say the same answer as I am. Why do you think the XFL podcasters and XFL people who have covered this league for the last 2 years are overlooking Tampa Bay?
There's actually 3 reasons. One is, and I heard Ready to Strike say this, it's that too many people look at Mark Trestman's history with the Bears, not enough with his history in the CFL.
Correct.
We look at the 2 or 3 years he was there with Jay Cutler, which what quarterback can make Jay Cutler look good, for being honest, or which coach? That's part of the reason. In the CFL, though, I mean, I think he's the only coach to win back-to-back Grey Cups. So I don't think enough people look at that. They remember. Not enough Americans watch Canadian football. If we're being honest, I might keep up with it and say, St. Peter's won, but I ain't gonna watch a game. But I knew who Mark Trestman was, so I don't think enough people look at that. It's revisionist history. 2, there's no big names really on the roster other than Aaron Murray, Quentin Flowers, maybe Stacy Coley. That's how it is. He kind of went out there, maybe Davion Smith from Michigan because people watch Michigan football, and Jaquez Patrick from Florida State. But there's only a handful of big names on that team compared to everybody else. And even when the quarterback assignments came out, everybody went, "Oh, Aaron Murray," and then kind of went about their day. Hell, more people talk about Luis Perez than Aaron Murray. And number 3 is just the Tampa market itself. I mean, Tampa Bay's never been a huge market. I mean, look at the Buccaneers, the games they have. I think a lot of people on the bandwagon because I've heard people say before because South Florida is a hotbed for football. Look what Orlando Apollos did. This is not the Orlando Apollos. I'm sorry. This is just not them. It's not a regional draft. They're not going to get the best players in the country. They got some good players. They got some Florida guys, but totally different teams out there. And Mark Trestman's not Steve Spurrier. So if you combine that, plus a lot of people don't talk about this yet. The Dome's going to be rocking in St. Louis. The stadiums in Texas going to be rocking. Seattle's going to be rocking. Tampa Bay is allowed to be a ghost town. I mean, are they really going to have a home field advantage? Like them and the Guardians, to me, is like going to be the 2 probably least fans out there in LA. So are they really going to have a home field advantage when they go there? If you go if you as a player you get pumped up by the fans. If you go on the field in your home stadium, they're like 9,000 people. You're not going to want to try as hard as it is if it's a sold out. Maybe not sold out for XFL purposes. 18,000, 20,000 people. The Seattle team's allowed to try harder than Tampa is because they got fans to play in front of.
Well, and also you mentioned New York being maybe the lowest ticket sales. One thing about New Yorkers I do know, seeing that all my professional teams rivals are from New York. When the New York team wins, they sell out joints. So, there's a big market. So you're going to find 40,000 fans or 25,000 fans that will show up to see a winning product. They may not show up to see like the Hitmen from the 2001 era of the XFL because they were god awful until the very end of the year. But for Tampa Bay's purpose, I think the main reason why the XFL fans and other podcasters look over the Tampa Bay Vipers is because of Aaron Murray. Everybody remembers the bad taste that Aaron Murray left when he played for the Atlanta Myths. Legends. Still like to call them the Myths. But you got to also realize that the Atlanta Legends in the AAF last year were the worst team in the league. They were not run properly. Their offense was, I don't know, a crapshoot when you have, Denard Robinson as your running back.
And they lost the offense coordinator before the season even started.
So when people look at the Tampa Bay Vipers, they'll overlook the Vipers and go, oh, well, Aaron Murray, oh, okay. And if they're big-time Georgia Bulldog fans, full Bulldogs fans, they'll go, oh, yeah, let's go watch them as Aaron Murray because that's, he's a hometown boy. Right. But for the people out there that are looking at the XFL and wonder what team to cheer for, and why are all these podcasts having the Vipers at 8 and 7 and 6, while Vegas has them at 8? Well, 7.5 point spread. That's just
my thing with Aaron Murray is I'm a Georgia fan, born and raised. I'm actually named after a Georgia football player from the 80s. So the thing about Aaron Murray is he was good at Georgia. He went 10-3 every year. But the problem was those 3 wins were the 3 biggest games of the year. It's like he was good, but when it was time to be great, he just couldn't get there. Like the SEC title game against Alabama. We was a win away from that championship game. He needed to make one big throw and couldn't do it. That's kind of Aaron Murray in a nutshell. I know a lot of Georgia fans are kind of about bringing that up, but he was good. But it was time for him to be great. He just couldn't make that one throw, and I think you're going to see that a lot. A lot of these games can be close. A lot of these games can come down to one play. The question is, will Aaron Murray be able to finally make that one play? If it's 4th and goal from the 5, is he going to be able to make that throw?
Yeah, correct. So that we've talked about the Guardians in Tampa, that game is happening Sunday, 2:00 on Fox. Who do you have winning this game and why?
This might be the biggest toss-up game of the thing, and when the schedule come out, I'm like, wow, this is the one game I'm kind of not interested in when the schedule first came out. But now, seeing the teams and seeing them practice, against each other and stuff, I think the Guardians are going to win. I think the home field, I seen that it's supposed to snow that morning up there. I just think Murray's going to make a mistake, like I was talking about. He's going to make a mistake at the worst possible time, and I can see the Guardians probably picking them off a couple of times and winning the game. Not by a lot, Tampa's a 2.5 point favorite. Guardians by like maybe 8.
So you have the Guardians to cover that spread and win. So for Tampa Bay's sake, that'd be tough. That means they'll have to go on a nice lengthy flight to go to Seattle next week. That may be a very intriguing game right there.
If you're a Tampa fan, though, and you want to get people into it, mention 2 people. Well, 3. Mention Chessman, mention Aaron Murray, and mention Jerry Glanville. I think he's probably the most famous coordinator in the league, other than defense coordinator at least.
For us here at the XFL Unhinged podcast, we're proud to be associated with you. This is the XFL podcast. Thank you for stopping by, brother, and hopefully we join your show, and hopefully you can come on our shows later in the years, seeing that the season's finally here.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Just let me know.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tron Hawkins, for your breakdown of the concert. I think it's a controversy in New York, but apparently he doesn't think so. He maybe just think it's just a benefit of having 2 quarterbacks. And we, as you can tell, both of us went back and forth on the Vipers and their approval and disapproval of the fans because of injuries and also Aaron Murray. Problem, and of course he picks the New York Guardians with the W to start off the season. But then again, it's time for J Dash and Carlos to break down the Tampa Bay Vipers and New York Guardians. First game to kick off on Sunday, day 2 of the XFL, 2 p.m. on Fox. Tampa Bay is favored in this game. They are the only road team favored in the opening weekend, and the weather is supposed to be in the low 40s and rainy. So it's going to be nasty weather. So people want to understand what type of offense is Tampa Bay going to be. Well, Mark Trestman is a Canadian offensive mind genius. He likes the air raid with a lot of tight end play. And also, they got 2 running backs. And one thing, you look at an air raid offense, yes, they like to spread the ball around. But also air raid offense, unlike West Coast offenses and running gun offense, air raid offenses use more running back than people actually think they do. Because usually the running back is there either blocking for blocking the quarterback for another protection, or he's a scat back that runs out and takes 5-yard dump off routes and he's hauling ass.
He's the scat back.
But one thing about tight ends, especially in Mark Trestman's type of offense, he uses a lot of tight ends. The guy has 4 tight ends on the roster. Nick Trusendell, excuse me if I mess up your name, sir. Colin Thompson and DeAndre Gooseby are the tight ends that are there. There are 2 other guys on the roster. I just now realized that they are, but there's actually 5 tight ends on the roster for Tampa Bay. When you have a heavy tight end offense on a air raid type style offense, you're telling your defense, like, hey, we got 6'4" guys here that can catch the ball. We also have 6'4" guys that can block. That tells me, as a defensive coordinator or a defensive-minded person, they're going to run the running back here somehow. And how are they going to do it? Well, it depends on what type of running back they have. And they have two different types of running backs. They have a thumper and they have a running gunner. What do you mean by thumper? Well, Jacques Patrick is a powerful, comparable to a Leonard Fournette type of style running back. He's a thumper. He is not fast at all. He will run right down the A gap and B gap, and give you about 4 or 5 yards of a solid run, and that'll be it. If he does break a tackle, well, he may get 15 to 20 yards before he gets caught. Well, and that other court running back can get about 30 or 40. How do I know this about Jacques Patrick? Well, I watched him at Florida State for 4 years. I know how he runs. Does that mean he's a bad running back? No, he's a good guy. He's a great character, and he is a hard worker. He is going to be a type of running back that Tampa Bay fans will enjoy because of his style of running.
I was going to say, there's plenty of great running backs that have never been the fastest.
Oh, yeah.
From what you're describing, it kind of reminds me, and this may be a weird comparison, to the 2001 Giants. Was it? Yeah, it was 2001 Giants. When they went to the Super Bowl, they used to call them Thunder and Lightning, and that was Ron Dane and Tiki Barber, and they were damn good together. That very much what you're describing reminds me of that.
And you could say the Tampa Bay Thunder and Lightning is Devon Smith, who is a former running back from Michigan for 2,300 yards rushing. He also played with the Orlando Apollos. He was the second back behind Akeem Hunt for the Orlando Apollos. So when you look at air raid offenses, sometimes I don't care if you have good running backs. I don't care if you have good receivers, which they do in Tampa. They have 2 good solid receivers. Stacy Coley, a former Miami Hurricane. He has 4 years of experience in the NFL. And Shantavius Jones, he's the 5th leading receiver last year in the AAF in air yards and receiving yards. He played for the the Atlanta Legends last year, so a bright side out of Atlanta. But when you look at a team that's supposed to be an air raid style offense, you look at the guy who is calling the plays, the quarterback. And you have Aaron Murray, the UGA all-time leading passer. He played for the AAF Atlanta Legends. He was injured. And he also, when he did play for the Legends, didn't look good at all. Honestly, he looked terrible. But then again, was it because of him? Or was it because of the Legends were really just a very bad team?
Well, the Legends were a complete mess. I mean, when we went to the game, Michael Vick was supposed to be the offensive coordinator. All right, guys, we're 1 week out from the game, and I'm out of here. How are you supposed to do well on a team that has a complete identity crisis because they go through one coordinator and another? So I don't think you can really put that all on him.
Oh, yeah. But, honestly, Aaron Murray is a hell of a quarterback. When Aaron Murray is healthy, when Aaron Murray has an offensive line, when Aaron Murray has decent targets, I'm describing every good quarterback with a good offensive line. Aaron Murray is a type of quarterback that if he can get his shit straight, he could be this XFL's version. Can I say it? Tommy Maddox, because he had NFL experience. He was I think he was like a third-round draft pick in the NFL in 2013 or 2014 draft. May be wrong. I may have to go do some research. One of you keyboard warriors will find out if I'm wrong or not.
I can hear them clicking.
Yep. And you come back here to the arena. You come back to the AAF. That didn't work out. Okay. The XFL is coming up. Let me try for the XFL. And from what I found out, he was actually injured in AAF. He hurt himself and never really publicly said that he was hurt. I read I think it was a piece on the local Tampa Bay newspaper that said that he basically played with an injury all last year. And plus, if you play football, ladies and gentlemen, most likely you've played your whole career injured, or you played your whole game injured or season. It happens all the time. But I'm not going to be mad at Aaron Murray because he made me hurt when he was also playing behind a crappy team in Atlanta.
I've never understood the idea of getting mad at somebody because they get hurt or injured. And albeit, I know there's a difference in football sense anyway between hurt and injured. Yeah. Like you said, every player plays through pain, but it's whether or not it's debilitating pain. And that's where the definition of injury comes in when football is concerned. These guys are soldiers. They are all tough. And even when we criticize them, always remember that these guys are just absolute badasses, and I bow at the altar to them. But hey, we're here to critique. There's no way around it. But
Tampa Bay Vipers' secret weapon that the fans out there need to pay attention to is a quarterback. His name is Quentin Flowers. He is a native of Tampa. He played at University of South Florida. What type of quarterback is he? He is nothing but a mobile quarterback. His arm may not be strong, but he's a type of quarterback that resembles the same playing styles as Lamar Jackson. He is not Lamar Jackson. Just saying that.
Well, if he has the same.
If he was, he'll be in the league. Quentin Flowers is a type of quarterback. He is going to be a type, if he plays for the Trestman's offense, he is going to be the individual that's going to look at maybe one or two reads, and he's running. And honestly, in this type of league in the XFL, that may actually be the type of offense you might have to run, especially if you need to get quick points, especially in this league where 9-point leads are not considered two-possession games. Quentin Flowers, I've watched him a couple times in South Florida. One thing I've noticed over his career, he stares down his receivers too long, and when he needs to throw, when the running game is gone, he panics and he runs himself into tackles. That happens to a lot of quarterbacks. I don't care if you're Tom Brady, and I don't care if you're Mark Sanchez. You will if you get pressured, you will panic and you will do something stupid. It happens to every good quarterback. So who are the Tampa Bay Vipers taking on? Well, they're taking on the New York Guardians. By some XFL experts, the Guardians are considered championship contenders. By Vegas thinks they're a 4-win team. Well, the over-under is set at 4. So
I disagree.
Well, you're the one who predicted that the Guardians are going to win the XFL championship because you don't trust your defenders winning in the playoffs already.
I'm a DC football fan. I can't trust any of them.
The season hasn't started. You're already counting doom and glory for DC.
Well, at least there's glory. I can look forward to that.
Well, maybe glory in the first couple of weeks of the season.
I'll take it.
Okay. Now, when you look at the New York Guardians, who are the men who are leading this team? Well, some of the players that you might want to look at are former players of the AAF, especially in the backfield. Justin Stockton and Tim Cook III are former running back duos from the Arizona Hotshots. If you watched the AAF last year, these two running backs were very impressive. When you're averaging 4.9 yards a carry and 5.4 yards a carry, you're doing very well because it means in two plays you're getting the first down, or in the third play you're having the second and third and short. So when you look at the Guardians, I'm going to tell you right now, based on XFL statistics from multiple XFL accounts, XFL Fantasy Central, the XFL Newsroom, and the Ref, based on their detailed research into the teams, I've come to a conclusion that the New York Guardians have the highest rated linebacking core in the XFL, which will result in a better defense. Usually when your front seven is elite, you will hold teams down to low points. Like I've stated before in other podcasts, I think that the three best defenses in the XFL are the Washington Defenders, the New York Guardians, and the Los Angeles Wildcats. So, who are the men who are calling the plays? Who are the single callers? Well, quarterback Matt McGloin, former walk-on at Penn State University, threw over 6,000 yards when he played for Penn State. Unfortunately, he didn't win the big game. His big time was in the Outback Bowl in 2011, where he threw 6 interceptions to the University of Florida.
Ow.
So what else did he do? Well, he kind of started the Week 16 game for the Oakland Raiders and got them into the playoffs. Then ended up getting hurt and never seeing the field again in the NFL. So what is the news of maybe what I've said earlier in the show? The concept, the build of these teams, they usually have 2 decent quarterbacks. Well, Luis Perez, a former Tier 1 quarterback who was, selected to play for the LA Wildcats, was traded to the New York Guardians. And one thing that is unique, Tron Hawkins even brought it up, it may be just solidifying, securing that backup role in New York just in case if Matt McGloin gets hurt. I still think that there's a little bit of controversy. I still don't think you go trade for a quarterback that has the background like Luis Perez, leading the Birmingham Iron in the AAF to a playoff berth. Yes, they didn't make the playoffs, but there is a playoff berth. And also coming from a small school in Texas, leading them to passing records, and actually winning big games in the AAF last year. He has experience. Yes, he's not the flashy guy. He's not the Josh Johnson, and he's not going to be, the Landry Jones when Landry Jones is healthy. He's not going to be that type of quarterback. He is a game manager type style quarterback who is going to win games. I get a lot of heat from a lot of fans saying that he is not a game changer. So what is Matt McGloin? Matt McGloin is another definition of a game manager quarterback. And for you New York fans, game manager quarterbacks will win you games in New York. Your team is built for it. You have a solid receiving core, and Malachi McKay and Joe Horn Jr., the son of Joe Horn, and also a tight end core that is going to be exciting to watch with Jake Sutherland, B.J. Bibbs, and Joe Powell. These individuals will have a built style offense that is, you could say they're going to be very familiar for Giant fans and the Jets fans in New York because it'll be running more of a pro-style offense because of the quarterbacks they have at the helm. You can't run.
I think the run game is actually what's going to be doing it.
Yes.
Justin Stockton and Tim Cook are just going to wreck it. They're going to absolutely complement each other, and it's going to make it a lot easier for the O-line and the quarterback to know exactly what they have to do. It will simplify the offense overall so that they're going to be interchangeable. You, boom, in, out, and there's going to be consistency there. And that's going to be the way that you also beat the Guardians, I think. As you said, these 2 quarterbacks are indeed game managers, as far as I can tell, but these running backs have more than proven themselves. They have chemistry with each other, even though they're not on the field at the same time. They do have chemistry. But if you shut them down and you force Perez or McLaughlin to toss that ball, that could possibly still spell doom for the Guardians. Yeah. And on a note with the quarterback controversy, I don't think there's really a quarterback controversy here. I just think that whenever you're in a startup league and the player pool is limited, you're better off having 2 good quarterbacks as opposed to 1 great one. Because what happens when that great one goes down? Well, you become the Birmingham Thunderbolts. Casey Walden played damn good. And then when he went down, yeah, you go 2-8.
Well, also you could have 2 decent quarterbacks and end up like the New York Hitmen.
Nah, but they didn't really have a good run game either, did they?
No, they did not.
Also, Charles Polari struggled quite a bit.
Yeah. But you look at the Guardians, I know a lot of people watched them on the preseason game. They actually were very explosive on offense. They actually made big plays against Tampa Bay in the preseason game and actually made some, honestly, they kicked Tampa Bay's ass. But technically, it's preseason. It can change. And from the videos I've seen and from the stats I've that I've actually seen from the XFL newsroom, it looks like that the New York Guardians are going to be that team that once they get the lead on somebody, they're going to run the clock. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to just eat the clock away. And in a league that has a running clock like the XFL is this year, you better not have the Guardians take the early lead in this game. So, or any game for that matter. That's not this game. So, let's go back to, as you know, the 2 o'clock on Fox. Tampa Bay is 2.5-point favorite. It's going to be in the low 40s in rain. I'm going to tell you right now, the question marks that we've seen, there's a lot of injuries reports coming out of Tampa Bay over the last couple of days. A couple of players have gone out on the injury reserve or been hurt. They're getting replacing them from Team 9. I just think going up to New York with that weather conditions, I just don't see Tampa Bay, even though they're 2.5-point favorites. I don't think Vegas knows what they're doing here. I like the Guardians to win this game straight up based on that defense. I think they get an early lead early in the game, and they just sit on the lead. I think they win by maybe 10 points in this game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you as well with the recent injuries of Ike Spearman and Andrew Tiller. That's really going to be hurting them. Yeah, I got the Guardians winning as well. Just plain and simple. And I'm sorry, Reddit Strike Nation. I know you're probably listening, but unfortunately, for this week at least, it's going to be the Guardians game. Also, at the end of the day, playing in another stadium, I think it's going to be even more difficult. A lot of times when you are a startup league and you play as the away game, it's a lot harder, psychologically speaking.
Yes, a lot harder. Well, we come to the final game of the first week, and it will be the Unhinged Podcast Game of the Week, presented by XFLNewsroom.com. It is the St. Louis Battlehawks traveling to the Dallas Renegades, 5 p.m. on ESPN, the mothership of all networks of sports.
Of course, Dallas is Game of the Week, just like the NFL. Every damn week, 425, the Game of the Week. Come on!
Dallas is a 7-point favorite over the Battlehawks, and the weather's going to be nice, mid-60s and partly cloudy. So, when we look at this game, let's start off with the negatives of this game. And
It's
what I
in
mean
Dallas.
that's not in Dallas. Come on, they're not the Cowboys, bro. Okay, we know they're not the Cowboys. They're not the Rangers. They're not the Dallas Stars. Okay, we understand. You hate the city of Dallas because you're from DC. That's in your blood. We understand.
To be fair, there is one Dallas team I'm okay with.
What, the Fire?
Hell no. I'm talking about the Mavericks. I like the Mavericks. I got nothing against them, except when they play Washington.
Yeah, they never play. They play Washington, twice a year, and that's it?
Give or take.
Yeah.
But I like Dirk Nowitzki. I like their owner. His name is escaping me. Shark Tank.
Cuban.
Yeah, Mark Cuban. I like them. I just like the way that they're run. I think the ownership is excellent, and they've just always had good players. And, yeah, they're not a cocky, annoying team, so I've always been cool with the Mavericks. So there's one Dallas team I'm cool with. But when it comes to football, screw Dallas. But I'll try to keep it as unbiased as possible. I'm still trying to – I've ruined the bias. I'm trying to be as professional as I can be. So I'll knock it off with the anti-Dallas stuff.
Okay, that's good. So the final game of the season, the final game of the week one, not the season, is, of course, the Battlehawks and the Renegades. St. Louis finally gets their professional football team. Unfortunately, they have to be on the road for the first 2 weeks of the season. But who will be leading the Battlehawks? Well, I'm going to honestly say this to the fans out there who have listened to our podcast and the multiple podcasts on our network. We're kind of down on the St. Louis Battlehawks. Most of us, really. Why are we down on St. Louis? Well, a lot of us are not sold on Jordan Ta'amu. Why? Well, he's a big-time quarterback from Ole Miss. He's an RPO-style quarterback, strong arm. The guy can chuck it. The problem is that I've seen from his camps, from his recruiting, and from the scouts is that he stares down his receivers. When he gets blitzed and flustered, he makes boneheaded decisions like throwing across your body to the other side of the field. He's done that. But one thing that he does have an advantage of is that when he decides to run the ball, he's very good at it. He's actually more built to run the football than he is being a quarterback. Yes, he did win the starting quarterback job at St. Louis, but is he an elite quarterback in the XFL? Can he be one of the top tier quarterbacks? Yes. But we're looking at his history and looking at the scouting reports and from the recruiting and from his pro scouts and the combine, his measurables and his ability to read defenses is what's keeping him back, especially in the level of the XFL. Maybe he can take that next step and go to the NFL if he makes some dramatic improvements. But here is St. Louis's problem. Honestly, I'm not going to bash the city of St. Louis. You guys are happy to have football, and hopefully I'm very wrong about this. When I look at your roster, your strength is your defense. With linebackers Roderick Hoskins and Terrence Garvin. People say, who's Terrence Garvin? Well, if you remember the Orlando Apollos, Terrence Garvin picked off almost every pass that was thrown to him.
Yeah, we did have a really good look at him. He is a beast. That guy was fantastic. He might be the best chance of scoring.
Yeah, well, they do have. We'll get to the offensive side of the ball.
That's my point, but continue.
I do think that St. Louis has a great secondary, especially with Kenny Robinson. We do know about Kenny Robinson. He's the guy who out of West Virginia. He's already made the decision that at the end of the XFL season, he is going to the NFL. He has already put his name in the draft pool. So that tells you that we actually have an NFL caliber player on that team. And you have Will Hill, a former Gator, a former player in the NFL. When you look at St. Louis, I'm just going to be honest with you, St. Louis Battlehawk fans. Your defense has to keep you in games. Your offense, in my opinion, does not have enough firepower to keep up with a team like Dallas or a team like DC or a team like even Seattle maybe, and Houston, like even Houston. So even though the Houston, Seattle, and LA are in the different division, you have to worry about the teams that you play. But here's the thing. Look at your offense. You have a hell of a running back in Christine Michael. That guy did, I think he played about maybe 5 years in Seattle for the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Jones, who's a good size, speed running back. He has fumble issues. He's had fumble issues in college.
Yes, I can tell you firsthand. Prepared for fumbles, but I really do hope that he's been working on that. Like, that is his number one issue, and that's why he didn't make it here in DC as the starter.
But one thing that St. Louis does lack, and I could be completely wrong, and everyone could be completely wrong in our network, St. Louis's lack of depth at wide receiver will hurt them. You have like Marcus Lucas from Missouri and Brandon Riley from Texas. Are there 2 receivers? No, excuse me. He's from actually Nebraska. Take that back. My apologies. Are there 2 going to be their 1A, 1B receivers? And you're telling me that they're your 1A, 1B receivers? There's an issue because there's other teams out there, especially the team they're playing on Sunday night, that has 4 receivers that are better than one of their guys combined. So you look at St. Louis, if you look at their style of offense and you look at their defense, the advantage of St. Louis is this. They're going to have a solid defense, and when they're home, it's going to be pretty hard to play in the dome. They're going to be loud in the dome. But can their offense keep up with offenses like Dallas, like Houston, like DC? Don't know. That's going to cost them some wins. So let's go to the team that they're playing on Sunday night. That is the Dallas Renegades, led by quarterback Landry Jones, who is questionable for Sunday. So just throw Landry Jones out. He's not playing. Just say he's out for the game. You have 2 quarterbacks that are going to have a potential to play. That is quarterback Philip Nelson. You should remember him from the San Diego Fleet in the AAF, where he threw for 54% completions and 513 yards passing in only 3 games played. And also, you have the ACC Comeback Player of the Year, Eric Dungy, who signed after the NFL season was completed with the Cleveland Browns because he was on the practice squad with the Browns. So what does the Dallas Renegades offense have in store? Well, I think they have number 1 and number 2, the two best punches on running back with Lance Dunbar, who spent a century with the Dallas Cowboys, and Cameron Artis-Payne, who had over 2,000 yards rushing or all-purpose yards at the University of Auburn. But what is the main thing that sets the Renegades above every other team in the XFL, or especially in this game here, the Dallas and St. Louis matchup Sunday night on ESPN, is the receiving core. I do think that the receiving core of Dallas is far superior to any receiving core in the XFL. I could be completely wrong come week 5. I could be completely wrong on this show next week. But I do think that Oklahoma wide receiver Jeff Badet, Texas wide receiver Gerald Harold, and Jay Ferguson of Northwest State, those 3 receivers, their size, their ability, their speed, and their strength are going to be key and easy targets for whoever is quarterback for the Dallas Renegades. If it's Nelson, if it's Dungy, if it's Landry Jones. There's a reason why the Dallas Renegades are considered Vegas favorites to be the XFL champions. Their defense is solid. I can name you want me to name the whole roster for the defense of the Dallas? We'll be here for another 25 minutes. But Dallas's defense is not going to be their bread and butter. Dallas is basically going to say, hey, we're going to outscore you. You got to stop us. That's their defense. That's their defensive mentality. Their defense is just going there, just trying to bend but don't break. They're not going to be there to shut down people. Their offense is what's going to make noise in this league. So you look at this game, the strength of St. Louis, the strength of Dallas. There's a reason why Dallas is 7.5-point favorites. I just think the strength of Dallas will overcome St. Louis's strength at defense in this game. If this was week 6, it might be a different call, but I just don't see from the talent level on offense for the St. Louis doesn't match the talent level for the Dallas Renegades. I just think that if it becomes a shootout, St. Louis just won't have enough power to keep up with Dallas. So, honestly, I think this game, 7.5-point favorite for the Dallas Renegades in this game. I'm going to take Dallas in the cover big time. I think Dallas wins almost by 2 to 3 scores in this game. I just don't see St. Louis having enough power to keep up with the Renegades here in Dallas on Sunday night.
For myself, I got Dallas winning as well. Never thought I'd ever say that, especially if Landry Jones is able to play. But even if he's not, this two-headed running game does look like it's going to do its job. I think that Lance Dunbar is going to be able to show what only came out in spurts when he was in Dallas, because there just seemed to always be a bigger, badder player ahead of him, even though Lance Dunbar, to his credit, was actually a pretty good player as well. His numbers may not wow you, but again, Redskins connections, history. We played against him twice a year. The guy could play. And Cameron Payne, coming out of Auburn, a lot of good running backs come out of there. So I think that there's going to definitely be legitimacy to this run game. But even if Landry Jones isn't able to start, I think the coaching is going to be huge for Dallas, because you got Bob Stoops in there, who's a very, very intelligent guy who gets the most out of his players, even if he doesn't have as much talent as the other team that he's facing. He's going to provide them with good heads on their shoulders, and they're going to know exactly what to do. Not to say the St. Louis isn't going to have that either, but as James has put it, the talent, it just doesn't seem like it's quite there. But don't be shocked if Matt Jones turns out to be a surprise dark horse, because I know that I trashed him earlier about his fumbling issues, but when that guy's on, he's on. And I really think that he could be a big determining factor in this game. But I really think that this spread is a little too big. I think maybe minus 4.5, 5 would be a little better. But still, I got Dallas winning this game.
So, to recap the picks for week 1, Carlos' picks are very simple. he's not, living dangerously like Austin Powers would say. He has the defenders. He has the Wildcats. He has the Guardians, and he has the Renegades. Who I pick again? All the home teams, basically. But week 1, can't believe it's here. Hopefully we get treated to good entertainment. Hopefully you enjoy your time up in DC for the game, Carlos. And hopefully you take a lot of pictures and videos and, share your experience with fans and, publicize the podcast. But for us here at the Extreme Football Unhinged podcast, I want to say thank you for listening to Week 1's breakdown of the XFL. These episodes will get shorter as the season progresses because we'll know each team as they get better or as they evolve as the season progresses. But
we don't have to provide biographies.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I wanted to thank Tron Hawkins of This Is the XFL podcast of joining us and breaking down the Dragons and the Guardians over the not Dragons, the Guardians and the Vipers for the segments before we got into it. I also want to thank the XFL delivery guy giving us his picks for week 1. And also come find us on Friday night on XFLnewsroom.com. Tron Hawkins, myself, the ref, and XFL delivery guy are doing a live stream breakdown of week 1 action of the XFL on XFLnewsroom.com. Also send us likes, subscribe, send us messages, become trolls if you want to. We don't care. We love the love. We love the hate. That's what we are doing here, and we appreciate all of our listeners and our followers over the last 2 years. We can finally say this with with some passion. X is going to give it to you, and it starts Saturday night. See you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the first week of the XFL.
Catch you later, guys. As always, it's been a pleasure.